Oh, apologies.
Just good afternoon and welcome to everybody. I don't know where you are today, but if you're spread around the country, I don't know what the wind's like for you. I'm based down in the southwest, and at the moment, it's certainly very, very strong. So we're going to be looking today with Jamie Payne's kind help at the German MMC model. So meanwhile, we're going to be running a poll in a few minutes. So for those of you who are familiar, you can get into the poll in one of two ways. You'll see on the screen there is a QR reader. So those of you who've got a phone with a QR reader, you can access it that way. Or you can go to www.slido.com and you can enter today's code, which is LM180222, which is today's date, if you're poor on memory. So we've also put it up in the chat box. So we're just going to let time go by for a minute or two. So for those of you who've got into the poll, by all means, do start taking it, but I will run through it in a minute. So we're expecting quite a large number today. So we'll just give it a moment or two to let more people come into the room. And for those of you who are used to Andrew's dulcet tones, today we have Katrina who will be hosting. So it's her first time. So let's welcome Katrina. Hi, Katrina.
Hi. I'm stepping in very in sort of like not giving a lot of notice for this. Poor Andrew's stuck in the garage, so he rang me and said, would you mind doing it? And I don't mind at all. It's an absolute delight. I know many of you have tuned into lots of the different webinars over the last couple of years, and I think Howard's done a brilliant job with them, so well done, Howard. It gives me my opportunity to say that to everybody. Obviously today is a bit of a different one with Jamie talking about modern methods of construction, but the German model, which I'm very much looking forward to. Obviously, this is a webinar which is brought to you by Leaders Meet, which is supported by all of the constructing excellences throughout the UK, and also the Structural Timber Frame Association and the CIOB as well. So as I say, this is our weekly webinar, very much looking forward to it. And I really think that we should just let Jamie get on with it, shall we? I think, or do we need to hang on a couple more minutes, Howard?
I think we're going to the poll, shall we?
Right, okay, then let's go to the poll,
so I'll take people into the poll. So as I said, we're going to be using Slido today. First way we're going to use it is an opening poll. Second way we'll use it is for Q&A. So if you have any questions, please do go to the Q&A and put your question there. If you think it's a really good question, you can thumb it up, which means that question will come up to the top of the list. And the last way that we will use Slido today is a feedback poll at the end. We'll post that up and we will keep it open for a few minutes afterwards. And your feedback is really appreciated. It's the way we learn and can make changes and improvements. So let's go into the opening survey. So there's about 70 odd people here at the moment. So it'd be interesting to see if we can get the view of a good high percentage of that number of people. So, Abraham, let's put the poll up. So the first question is MMC the future of the UK construction industry? Simple question of yes, no, or not sure. So let's move on to the next question. Do you understand the definition of vertical supply chain? So again, a simple yes, no, or not sure answer. And the third question, do we need to manage embedded or embodied carbon in UK construction industry via a building control type of approval? That's an interesting question. Do we need to manage embodied carbon? Some 34 people have already got through the poll. It's growing up, 36. So let's go on to question 4. Are you familiar with the circular economy? An interesting question. Yes, no, or not sure. And lastly, question 5, does the circular economy exist in the UK construction market? So 43 people have kindly answered it now. So if you've got a moment or two, we'll just give it you. But what we'll now do is we'll run through the answers to the poll. You can still carry on answering the question because as we go through the answers, the data will change. So please carry on answering it. So let's look at the first question. Is MMC the future of the UK construction industry? Well, Jamie, let's bring you in. 71%, which is a pretty good high percentage, think that it is. So you're in a job for the future. Is this would be typical of what you would expect, or higher, lower?
Yes, I think so. Howard, I think I would be expecting this kind of figure, if not slightly higher, to be honest. Right,
okay. It's interesting that not sure. 2% said definitely no, but not sure. So maybe they'll be persuaded today. Let's have question 2. Do you understand the definition of vertical supply chain? Well, the majority does say yes, but there is some perhaps hesitancy here with 35% saying not sure. Jamie, what would you expect this, or?
Yeah, I guess that's probably the answer I was looking for, Howard, as well. I was expecting. I think there's going to be a bit of a divide in the industry.
Okay, it'd be interesting. I'm looking forward to it because I'm not quite sure myself what vertical supply fully means. Question 3. Do we need to manage embodied carbon in UK construction industry via a building control type of approval? Pretty dominant view there, Jamie.
I think that, I was looking for a confirmation of my view there, that regulation to ensure we have standard and consistency across what people are reporting and recording, I think is a priority. Do
you think this is going to happen, and how long?
I think it will have to happen within the industry. It's just a case of how long it'll take to get there. But I think that it's the only way where we'll be able to benchmark projects and buildings against each other consistently.
Great, thanks. Let's go on to question 4 then, Abraham. Are you familiar with the circular economy? Well, good majority are. 18% no. So again, as you would expect, this sort of majority.
That's a lot higher than I thought with regard to the no and the not sure.
Well, I wonder whether it's we have an educated audience. Perhaps we'll find out in a few minutes with the questions. Jamie, what do you think? That's about what you would expect.
I was expecting something a little lower on the yes, so it's nice to see that people are fully familiar with the term.
Okay, Abraham, let's go to the last question. Does the circular economy exist in the UK construction market? Well, not sure is the majority answer here. Yes, 12%, no, 34%. So maybe that does support your previous view, Jamie. Any comment?
No, I was expecting a higher no percentage with that. So I think that's probably a true reflection.
I think it's pockets, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Well, many thanks for the 51 people who took part in the poll. So I'm going to now disappear and I'm going to hand over to Jamie. But please remember, if you have any questions as he goes along, please do put them into Slido Q&A. Many thanks. Over to you, Jamie.
Thank you very much. Has this come up?
Not as yet. Got a problem with screen share?
I don't think so. Bear with me. No, has it come up yet?
I can't see it myself.
Bear with me.
Sorry to everyone. It worked all right fine in the practice session.
Okay, let's have a go with this. Has this come up now?
It started to screen share now, yeah. You may just want to put it onto a slideshow.
There you go.
Great, that's super, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much for the time and the opportunity to present today. So survey results were quite interesting for me. I think the majority of people, consider that MMC is obviously the future of the construction industry, and quite good to also see that the circular economy, the ability to reuse, repurpose buildings is also very strong in the minds of fellow professionals within the industry. So today's session, a little bit about his German MMC model, the future of the UK construction industry. Just before we sort of start and kick into this, a little bit of background to myself. So I'm Jamie Payne, been working in the construction industry for about 27 years, predominantly as a project manager, but now as a business development manager for Goldbeck Construction. My background, I've worked for developers, clients and consultants. So from a sort of development point of view, many years spent at Land Securities, many years also spent working at Bristol Airport, which I guess many of you will know from the region, and some consultancies across the UK as well. So who will Goldbeck Construction? It's a question that I get posed quite a lot. Not a household or well-known brand name currently within the UK. We were founded in 1969 by Aldwyn Goldbeck, and the business has been obviously in service for just over 52 years. In terms of our size, currently turnover is about 4.5 billion pounds, about 5 billion euros, and we are 8,500 employees spread across Europe. 6,000 of those employees are located in Germany, and then the balance of 2,500 spread across Europe, with the UK, Slovakia, the Netherlands, Spain, Italy, France, etc. We're a system builder. Everything we build is MMC. We have been building using lean methods, and for the last 52 years. We like to think that it's a bit like a big Lego set, and that there are significant benefits in this this way of construction. It's incredibly quick, and it's incredibly cost efficient as well. Where we're different to some of the others, MMC, is that even though we're such a large organisation, such a big turnover of circa 5 billion euros, 75% of our projects are under the sort of 20 million pound value. So really our speciality is volume and the quantity of projects that we deliver each year. Last year alone, in 2021, we delivered over 500 projects across Europe. The sectors in which we work are schools, warehouses, logistics, laboratories, offices, car parks, residential and care homes. And the business will now start to look at developing into other sectors such as the healthcare sector. So a little bit about vertical supply chain. So what is the definition of a vertical supply chain? So it's good to see so many people are aware of the definition. Put simply, vertical supply chain is really about control and ownership and the ability to control the distribution or supply of one's goods. Really, this enables you to mitigate external factors and the influence of supply on yourselves as a distributor or supplier. So just a few examples here to put it into context of who some brand names we would typically know as a vertical supply chain. So Nike, we're all aware, design, they manufacture, but also with retail outlets. Apple, very similar. I'm sure many of us have got Apple phones that we are very well attached to. They've gone a slightly a step further. That we as individuals have a lot of data. With Apple, we probably store a lot of photos, and we probably purchase a lot of music, etc. via Apple. So they seem to have gone one step further. IKEA, quite interestingly, another household name that's vertical supply chain, and in this instance, they've actually gone down the route of purchasing forests in Romania in order to give them the certainty of delivery of the product. Netflix again started in sort of DVDs. Now they're into film production in a big way, and hotly tipped for this year's film, best film in the Oscars. And just one really from the UK, Morrison's, a very strong brand name in the UK, vertical supply chain in that they grow, they produce their own products, they have their own sort of fishing fleet as well, and again a good idea of a good UK vertical supplier there. Has COVID kind of been kind to us over the last sort of 2 years? I think what COVID has identified, that there are some benefits to being a vertical supply chain. There were some businesses that really struggled with resource and the ability with their supply chains to get the necessary products that they needed, with a sudden spike in demand and the sort of panic buying phase as well. There were incidents in China with lots of production. And there were some suppliers who simply had to cease production because of the reliance on the Chinese manufacturing. So I think that all of a sudden, vertical supply chains and the ability to control your own destiny has really kind of come to the fore again in the industry. So. Vertical supply chains, are they really a bit of a risk? And what are the risks with vertical supply? What are the risks with vertical supply chains? Well, really, I guess it is the capital cost, and there's the cost to set up. There are the costs of developing systems, and then there's the cost of upskilling staff as well to cover the broad spectrum that a vertical supply chain requires. There are vastly differing skill sets along the supply chain, which makes management of a vertical supply chain very, very difficult, obviously very inefficient, and often comes with an increase in the operating costs of a business as well. One of the real issues with vertical supply chains is really the market sets the price as well. So the market will determine the price that that people are willing to pay, and sometimes with a vertical supply chain, an internal price can sometimes be above the market price, and that runs the risk then of not adding value and incurring a cost. So advantages of sort of vertical supply chains. Then you have control, as I've said, right the way through from control of your supply chain, and you're able to make business decisions based upon that control. You're able to avoid potential suppliers with market power and who can have influence on you as a supplier yourselves. You obviously get the economies of scale and purchasing power that come with being a vertical supplier. And you also have that flexibility and to make independent decisions and to prioritize your manufacturer or your clients, etc., without influence. You're able to keep ahead of the market. And I think that's a fundamental, is keeping ahead of the market, because you don't have all of the suppliers who are you able to call from. As a one-stop shop, you really have to keep ahead of the market to ensure you keep your market advantage and your competitiveness. the sort of disadvantages of vertical supply really is the setup costs and the financial burden that this can impact on a business. The time it takes to actually ensure integration and success into the business, and the management can become very complex and very complicated, and you may struggle or take your eye off the core competencies of the business. So where do Goldbeck Construction fit into all this, and where do Goldbeck Construction fit into MMC? So as I said, we are Germany's largest run construction company. We are a system builder, and we've been building in terms of lean construction and MMC over the last 50 years with a turnover of 5 billion. We would class ourselves as a true vertical supplier. So we own every stage from design all the way through to operation. So we have, this slide's slightly out of date now, we have 2,000 in-house designers, and we would be seen as being Europe's third largest Revit user. In terms of the design team that we employ in-house, everything from an architect, a structural engineer, a civil engineer, an interior designer, etc., all the way through. It's not to say that we don't use external consultants and external designers. We do, but we do retain a lot of those services in-house. We manufacture ourselves, so we have 10 fully automated manufacturing plants, all powered with green energy, and we manufacture in traditional materials using both steel and concrete. The business was founded as a steel manufacturer, and then has expanded into these other product ranges over the last 50 years. In terms of us as a Revit user and using sort of the digital thread, we use the digital element to design, to abstract the data for the manufacturing and manufacture drawings and manufacturing purposes, and then we also use that data for building sort of as-built scenarios, and also the data then to maintain and operate our buildings as well. As I previously said, in 2021, we delivered over 500 projects using our kit of parts and our system builds. So I'm just going to show you a very quick video, if I may, of one of our factories, or a couple of our factories, here we go. So what you can see here is what you saw there was one of our head office. Actually, in the head office, we have one-to-ones of all of our products. So a client is able to come and see a warehouse or a school or a car park or an office building before the product is actually built, and get to see the actual the finish and the quality one-to-one. What you can see here is some of our design team that also reside in this office. This is one of the manufacturing plants, and it's one of the steel manufacturing plants. As you can see here, a lot of automation within the factories. Pretty much everything is automated. We have a US office of about 10 staff at the moment, and they predominantly work with Stanford University, and they're purely looking at robotics and efficiencies and production, and how we can take as much of the construction element into the from the site and into a factory environment. All these factories and everything you see here is all owned and operated by Goldbeck. This is one of the plants in Ham, which really produces a lot of the concrete products, everything from concrete foundations, concrete columns, architectural facades, and here you can see one of the architectural facades, and here this is a floor slab being manufactured. So you can obviously see the factory is quite large. There's a lot of formwork there, and then once the product is cured, goes off into the outside yard for storage. The facility really has changed somewhat since this video, and I'll show you another short video in a moment because the production line has changed. Here you're going to see some of the assembly on site, and here the finished wall panels, and the foundations are cast, the anchor plates are cast into the foundation, and then you'll see one of the wall panels being lowered and then bolted into position. Those of you with a keen eye will probably spot that some of the health and safety requirements in Germany are not as stringent as the UK, and glad to say that this is quite an old video and has somewhat moved on since this video, thankfully. But everything you see here has all been manufactured by us as an organisation, and it really gives us that control and that control of the supply chain and that certainty in terms of program delivery, quality of the product, etc. As a manufacturer, we're also looking at efficiencies in terms of the product itself and how we can maximize the efficiency in the materials that we use. So what you see here is actually an office block. You're going to see some matting going down now, which is obviously manufactured off-site, which they use for both heating and cooling of the buildings as well. So they use it to heat the buildings in the winter, and then they reverse it in the summer in order to cool the building. So this next video is actually just a change in the production facility. So the panels are stored outside. They now come onto this 7-stage production run, and the panels come along the assembly line. They come in with a subframe fitted into the concrete frame. The assembly line then takes the product through 7 stages. Windows are fitted, glazing is fitted. The seals are then fitted. Electrics, if they're required, are then installed, and external sunblinds are fitted in the factory, and actuators are assembled in the factory as well. Okay, so what kind of sets us really apart really is the experience we've gained over the last 50 years in terms of off-site manufacturing and lean construction. Really, we see ourselves as a sort of a manufacturer of products. As a manufacturer of products, we're always looking to see where we can use products in multiple locations. So the video you saw, the first video you saw, where we actually saw an office block being constructed, we use exactly the same system for manufacture of our schools as well. It's exactly the same system, and therefore it gives us a greater degree of flexibility in what one system can be utilized for. It's exactly the same for warehouses and sports halls. We have a system where we use a design for warehouses, but it's quite easily to be converted as well to a sports hall as well. So we're looking at always looking for multiple use of the products. In terms of R&D, as such a big organization and as a manufacturer, we spend a lot of money on R&D every year. We generally tend to invest an average between 40 and 50 billion euros each year in R&D. We're looking at concrete, where we're using Chem 2 or Chem 3 concrete in our products, research into the integration of timber and concrete, and also the alternatives to cement and how we can tackle the sustainability element without an impact on the performance of the product as well. On the left-hand side of this particular slide, you'll see a product that we use for the multi-storey car parks within the business. Traditionally, you'll see concrete there and reinforcing bar, and in a square meter, there's about 8 kilo of reinforcing bar. We've just developed a new product for this market, where all the reinforcing bar is omitted and it's replaced with a carbon mesh. Not only does that take out all of the reinforcing bar from this product as well, but it also reduces the concrete depth by about a fifth. So far better for the environment as well. In terms of the quality element, everything manufactured in the factories and manufactured offsite, so you get that quality control. That you'll see there an image of a beam, a concrete beam. Everything comes with a QR code. Every QR code relates back to the Revit model, so anybody is able to then on-site ascertain where this particular product is supposed to be being utilized within the construction of a project. In terms of people we partner with the likes of Schuko, who provide all of our aluminium door sets, and they provide us with profiles for windows, which we then manufacture and we powder coat and we use. So all of our schools, offices, etc., all come with a very high product in terms of curtain walling and windows, etc. And then on the bottom here, and you can see some images of where we had an existing warehouse. The client wasn't using all of the space, and then decided that he would like to convert some of that space into an office space. And the image on the right hand side is post the refit. So really, what are the benefits to clients of using a vertical supplier like us? I think it's really the quality of the product. You get to see the factories, you get to see the product before it's manufactured, and you'll know the quality of the product before it's actually delivered to site. Flexibility that we have as a supplier, as a manufacturer, to determine and prioritize. We actually undertook a project for Tesla over in Germany. In November 2019, Elon Musk announced that it was his intention to build a new gigafactory in Germany. We immediately made contact with the organisation in May. There were sort of contracts were awarded, and in July of 2020, we were on site, and the first concrete columns were erected on site. And then 6 weeks later, we had 25,000 square meters completed just in time for the top note ceremony. Being in control of our supply chain, being in control of production facilities, actually gave us that certainty that we were going to be able to manufacture and deliver in line with the expectations of the client. Everything we do from us as well is digital, from design, from manufacture, through to construction, and through to FM as well. And you have that digital thread all the way through to give you that certainty. Clients also sort of gain the benefit of us being a vertical supply chain, that we're able to make the savings, we're able to use the repeatable processes, able to use the sort of commercial leverage that we obtain from that, and also able to pass those commercial efficiencies of offsite building back to our clients as well. The fact that these projects and these builds are sort of repeatable projects and consistent with the sort of construction reduces program durations, but also gives us sort of program certainty with in terms of the speed and the assembly, and particularly how quickly we can get to water tightness with these buildings to enable us to then commence with the fit out. And the other thing is, when you order with an organisation like ourselves, it's the sort of certainty that the your order is with one supplier, and the product you're going to get and the quality you're going to get is all under one house. So the question for me is, are things sort of changing in the UK? I think from the survey we had that 71% of people on the poll believe that the future of the construction industry is going more towards MMC. It's interesting when you look at maybe competitors of ours out there, such as Lang O'Rourke, who again themselves are sort of an off-site manufacturer, slightly different, I would say, to Goldbeck at the moment, in the fact that they were looking at maybe bigger projects and bigger spends, but now they're starting to look at developing lightweight systems of their own, and maybe starting to consider entering more of the sort of volume market, where they can get the benefits of sort of volume outputs to enable them to be more competitive below a certain sort of price level. You also have other main contractors and tier ones such as Wilmot Dixon with Collider, and they're looking themselves at repeatable design solutions and how these repeatable design solutions can bring benefits and give them a point of difference as well within the UK market. So I think that's it for me. I think that I hope you've sort of enjoyed the presentation, got a bit out of it. Hope you've learned a little bit about vertical supply chains and who Goldbeck are, how we maybe do things slightly differently in Europe and in Germany in particular, and how we are looking to bring that efficiencies and that business model to the UK in the near future.
That's great, Jamie. Thank you very much. We've got a few questions in the Slido Q&A here, but if anybody else wants to ask some questions, if you can just go back to Slido and pop your questions on there. So bear with me as I try and read through these, Jamie. First one's from Richard, and he says, oh, you've got them on up there. Thank you, Howard. Suppliers and subcontractors bring lots of new ideas to construction. With this in mind, how do vertical supply chain companies innovate?
I think the answer to that, Katrina, is that we have a huge R&D department ourselves. So we are working with some of the world's leading universities in looking at how we can improve things all the time, and also the supply chain. I think on one of the slides that I brought up, there was a little image of a dog, which is called Spot the Dog. It is a product that's been developed in conjunction with ourselves with HoloBuilder. It's a product that enables us to actually record the construction of a project as it's actually happening on site. So it will tell you, it will compare your as built on site to your design. It will tell you if you've installed something incorrectly, and it's also recording as it goes the build in terms of progress and in terms of progress to your program. Is what I think I'm trying to say. So it does quite a lot of things. It's recording your as-built drawings. It's telling you if you're on program, if you're on track. It's also being developed in order that you can ascertain if people are using the right health and safety equipment, if they have the right PPE on, etc. So we are always looking to push boundaries with R&D. We are working with the likes of Stanford University on robotics and how we can use robotics to become more efficient. And we then have professors that we sponsor, and these professorships within universities are developing and looking at alternatives to cement within concrete, etc. So I think the fact that I understand the question that suppliers and sub-suppliers often bring new innovation, but for us as a manufacturer, we are mindful that we have to keep ahead of the market. I think the fact that we've been building this way for 50 years and we've been building MMC shows that we have been ahead of the market, and it is the business's position to keep ahead of the market as well.
Great, thanks for that. I presume we go to the ones that have got the points at the top. Oh no, all right then. Vertical integration comes with a high initial and often ongoing cost. Do you know how much of your initial and ongoing percentage investment is, and payback term?
The answer to that is I don't, unfortunately.
Thought you were going to say that.
I know the business has invested since day one. The business has always been about investing. We currently have 11. We currently have 10 factories that are manufacturing, and we're in the process of just building and opening our 11th factory. And that's because of two things: A, because of the volume of orders and output increasing, but also because we're looking at new sectors as well. I mentioned that we're now looking at the health sector. The approach of the business is to do a lot of work, is to invest and spend on design and perfection, to making sure when the product lands, it is right. So we were a little bit late to maybe to the housing market, but what that enabled us to do was to do the research and make sure when we actually do deliver into the housing market, which we are now doing in Germany and across Europe, is that we got it right, and we got it right first time. And I think that it's that continuous investment to meet demand and that continuous investment to grow into other sectors that just shows there's a commitment, and you have to invest if you want to expand and you want to grow.
Do you mind me asking, you've got 10 factories or 11 factories now. Are they all in Germany, or are they elsewhere in Europe?
No, they're spread across Europe. So we have factories in Germany. We actually have factories at the head office in Bielefeld in Germany. We have factories in the Czech Republic and Poland, and the sort of potential of the UK and the ambition of expansion in the UK is to also open a factory within the UK. The factory I actually showed you, the second factory, which is the concrete factory, actually produces concrete facades or architectural wall panels. It produces the slabs for those buildings. It produces concrete columns, and those concrete columns are the columns we can use in warehouses, or we can use in sports halls, and they were used for the Berlin job. And it also manufactures concrete foundations. It's a bit bizarre to think, but in Germany they actually can, because of advantages with the ground conditions, actually manufacture foundations off-site as well. The ground is prepared, the foundation is then taken to site, and the column is then lowered into the foundation.
And just to add to that, I'll just keep going here. What about embodied carbon in the concrete? Are you looking at that? Because obviously I know there's lots of research going on, especially in this country at the moment, with regard to that. Yeah,
so there's a huge amount of research into that. I mean, the fact that we manufacture off-site and everything is manufactured off-site, we're already using what we would regard as a sort of a Chem 2 or Chem 3, where you're using 35 to sort of 50% of aggregate to replace the cement content. I think that those sort of advantages have put us in a good position to where we are at this point in time. What we are now looking to do as a manufacturer is to move that on and see how we can address that, and how we can reduce that content even further or completely mitigate it. It is quite an interesting debate. I hear lots of people talking about the advantages of lots of other different products, particularly timber. And I know we're looking at timber and combining timber with concrete and the benefits that can bring. I know that one of the we've been appointed to build 24 sports halls as well in Berlin, and the design proposal for that was to use glulam beams as well. So we're always looking to see where we can address the sort of sustainability aspect. But the fact that we're an off-site manufacturer, you already get those advantages in terms of the efficiency and the wastes of the materials as well.
Great. I think I've been prompted to ask the next question. Driving off-site manufacturer, if you were asked on the value of the UK PMV definition you deliver, what percentage would this be, please?
I think this ranges depending upon the product.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if you were looking at the fact that we are panelized rather than volumetric, it would be slightly lower. In terms of maybe a school, I think we'd probably be around about 30%. But if you were to look at one of the other sectors, such as a car park, then the offsite manufacturer could be as high as 70 or 80% as PMV. So it really depends. I think that, again, we as an industry need to look at everything holistically rather than just everything individually. And I think that volumetric has its benefits. Certainly in terms of PMV offsite, but we really, as a panelized and offsite manufacturer, bring other benefits such as the thermal mass, potentially the durability that using traditional materials will bring to a project.
I think we're ready for the next question, which is from Graham, I believe. How do you overcome the issue if your products are specified that there will be a lack of commercial competition? You probably aren't worried.
I think, say that again, I'm not sure I understood the question.
It says, how do you overcome the issue if your products are specified that there will be a lack of commercial competition? I suppose it's not something that you'd be worried about if your products are specified.
No. I think that if our products are specified, I think for us, we really at this point in time are a one-stop shop for a client, I guess. I'm not really sure I understand that question, so maybe if Graham could rephrase that for me, that would be appreciated.
Is Graham there, or you put on what level of performance specification can your system attain?
Performance specification can our system attain?
Hello, I think I've been unmuted.
Oh, hello.
Hello, Graham.
Hey, fantastic. Yeah, hello, Katrina, it's Graham.
Hi, Graham. Hi. Just
So
if you could just explain your question, please, that'd be great.
Yeah. Two different questions, and I didn't put in any commas, so apologies for my lack of grammar. So the issue is the commercial competition.
Yeah.
That in the UK, you'll be aware, we have to go through, particularly for any public procurement. So you're talking about hospitals, it's nearly all public procurement, schools, nearly all public procurement. And the issue that I've come across over the last 20 years is that clients will not specify very frequently one single manufacturer from the outset. And I would imagine that your products have to be designed at REBA 1 and included at REBA 2 and specified again at REBA 3 and REBA 4. And I just wonder how you overcome that that issue, because it must be one that you face, whether you want to overcome it or not. You must face it if you're working in public sector.
Yeah, so with regard to procurement, Graham, in Europe it's slightly different to, and particularly in Germany to the UK. Lots of clients will appoint contractors very early in the design stage, almost as early as REBA 1. So therefore, you get to redesign within your system. In terms of the system itself, obviously, for example, with the schools, we have a grid set out of 2.5 and 2.7 meters. So when we actually tendered for the current CF21 DFE framework, one of the things that we had to do was to be able to demonstrate that the system, in terms of using a 2.5 or 2.7 meter grid, gave us the flexibility that we needed in order to deliver the design requirements for the DFE, and we were able to do that because of the sort of the grid system the DFE uses as well, being based on a sort of 0.9 or 900 mil, and us being derivatives of that, we were able to demonstrate that we could deliver the client requirements, if that makes sense. But I do understand what you're saying in terms of when a client has gone too far down the road. I think in that regard, there are two things. A, will the client then consider an alternative if the product you're offering delivers substantial benefits? And secondly, there will be scenarios when we simply won't be able to deliver for the client, and we will have to forego that opportunity, because the business is very much adamant. It does what it does, and it does what it does well, and it excels what it does well, and that's the sort of position of the business. It wants to excel and outperform rather than take on opportunities where we can't excel. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, and it's exactly the way that I would imagine you would want it to be. An awful lot of us in the UK have been chasing local authorities and public procurement to change their way of thinking, and I think you've got the right way of thinking, but it's going to be some time before we can move the big cumbersome procurement teams.
Yeah.
Right, well, let's go to the next question then, please, Abraham. Is the vertical supply chain approach cyclical? MMC used to direct employ
Main contractors, yeah. Is it cyclical?
Carpenters and in-house painting, plumbing, joinery departments. Will these come back?
I think that for me, not for us as a business, we've been doing this for 50 years and we intend on doing it for the next 50 years in this way. I think that, it's about, there's two things. I think the main contractors, will they employ? I think they may end up going more towards more direct employment, but also I think we'll see maybe more of the tier ones head towards manufacture as well, because then they can control their supply chain, and I think that's what they'll end up doing. I think the fact that maybe carpenters and direct employment could also be to do as much with client satisfaction as well, and actually making sure that you can give your clients the quality of service that they're looking for, rather than always being maybe the lowest price that can be tendered.
I think obviously the value side of it definitely comes into it nowadays.
Yeah.
Next question, please, Abraham. If we procure by value, how do we deliver on social value and zero carbon with concrete products made in Germany and shipped across? So open a factory here.
Yeah, I think there are two things. That is the ambition. The ambition of the business is to grow the UK, and the ambition is to grow the UK to enable us to open a factory within the UK. That's very much the intention. We've made some calculations on transportation of products currently from Germany, and when compared to more traditional builds within the UK, the carbon associated with the transportation is very minor in compared to the carbon associated with the manufacture. So at this point, we believe that we're still remaining in a good position, bringing things in from Europe, but understanding that this potentially could change. We also note that expansion in the UK, everybody in the UK is talking about MMC. It's really the right time, whereas maybe in the past, MMC and Goldbeck wasn't the right time. And we need to take the opportunity now in order so we can establish ourselves, establish factories, and get ahead of the market as well before it's too late. So it is time. I believe I'm saying is we probably are time constrained.
Mm-hmm. Our next question, Abraham. Well, this is Graham's again. What level of performance specification can your systems attain?
I think we did. I think we touched on that in the question.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah. Can we go to the next one, Abraham, please? Do you have an approximation of public-private sector split in the UK or target for this?
I think at the moment the split has been the business has been in the UK, but very much in a very small sort of sector. And I think the ambition is to grow both the public and the private sectors simultaneously. We tendered for the DFE framework. We were very fortunate, well, not fortunate is the right word, but delighted to have been appointed, and we're now looking at other opportunities of discussing with public sector organisations, but also in the private sector, and how we can bring our expertise across from Europe. I think one of the things that we are able to do is data with all these designs. The fact that these products are repeatable and they're using the same standard details. There are two things that stand out. A, we were able to deliver the latest DFE specification requirements using our standard product without any enhancement, and actually we gave them betterment on all of the sort of performance spec levels they were after, and also in terms of the data that we can bring in terms of operational data. That weather files in Germany and Europe often tend to be a little bit worse, I guess, than weather files in the UK. So we are able to demonstrate actual data and operational performance of live projects rather than of design performance.
We've got a couple of questions in the chat, if you don't mind me going through those. This one is from Julian. I think the system will most likely bring on the site program advantages, but what would be the overall like-for-like comparison with a typically designed and procured solution?
Okay, so I would say that we would be looking to provide betterment in terms of project handover on these projects, whilst we have a manufacturing period to consider. The fact that we're in control of our own supply chain, and the fact that we can prioritise, as we did, and as I sort of spoke about earlier, we can prioritise production. We also look at how we bring design forward as well. So very much with us, we're looking to bring design a lot earlier, and have M&E coordinated a lot earlier, and the fact that we have our own sort of M&E designers as well in-house, we're able to support external consultants in order to deliver that information, because we need to know that information, particularly around things like penetrations, ductwork routes, etc., before we go into manufacture. So really, I think, Katrina, what we're talking about is whereas most contractors will be appointed and they would look to really commence detailed design at that stage, we will be looking to commence design a lot earlier, sometimes using our internal resource at our own cost, in order that we can get into the manufacture stage earlier.
Just quickly then, Julian goes on, is it possible to adapt part of your system to allow for irregular shaped sites? I think you've probably covered that in your presentation,
yes,
as we talked about, I think, beforehand as well.
Yeah, we can. So we undertake a lot of refurbishment work and adaptation work as well across Europe, and converting existing buildings and adapting those. Yeah, so we can design that in-house as well.
And a very quick one from Martha. Any intention to cover the Latin America market, for instance, Colombia?
I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to ask the two owners, but potentially.
Well, I think we're nearing the end of our time now. So if you can please go into Slido to fill in your feedback, that would be very much appreciated. And we also, you can download your MyPro Pass, is it, for your CPD certificate as well. You can ask for that. I think that will come up at the end, Howard or Abraham. I'd just like to thank Jamie for a very interesting presentation today. I've learned a little bit about the German model, which I didn't really know about. So thank you very much indeed for your presentation today and for answering everybody's questions. And just to remind people that next week's event is looking at the, oh gosh, I'm going to have to remind myself, the construction products, oh gosh. Here we go. It's the code for construction products. I knew it was something about construction products, but there you go. Information. That's at midday next Friday, and we've got Amanda Long speaking. So it'll be great to see Amanda next week. I don't know whether I've forgotten anything. So Howard, would you like to chip in here if I have forgotten anything? But otherwise, it's 1 o'clock. Hope you all have a very safe weekend and keep away from the wind, please.
Thank you, Trina. Yep. Thanks to Jamie. Thanks for you all being here. Have a safe weekend and do register for next Friday. It's up on the screen now. So have a good weekend. Goodbye from us.
Thank you.